Hey, how's it going? I am gonna read some cards, and I was just looking at the camera before I turned it on, and how... Oh, okay, it's not doing it now. There was like a white... Oh, there it goes. It's like a, I guess, glare from that thing. It was making everything, like, foggy, like too much light, and it was too much for the phone camera to handle or something, I don't know. But, I can actually turn that down a little bit. I just wanted you to be able to see the sign behind me, but the glare don't help, does it? There. That's a little better. And then here, that is my disclaimer portion of the episode. Okay, so as usual, I missed actual Sunday. I don't know what it is. Every time it takes me so long to get going on this. So I had a card that fell out when I was putting away from the last reading from the Starseed Oracle. And then I had one that I just pulled for myself from the Declarations of Mary Magdalene deck. And I thought, oh, you know, well, first I thought it was fine. I don't know, I went off and did some other stuff, and when I sat down to do this, I thought, oh, maybe I need 2 more cards, and then the cards were tricky, and one was stuck to the back, so I wanted 3 total, now I have 4 of the Starseed Oracle cards, but I'm going to read the ones that I pulled first, and then the other ones that I laid out after I'll get to. The little talk first. So, what a strange day it's been. In a good way, I think. I was feeling some unpleasant feelings. I was feeling some dread, you know, and I guess it makes sense. There's a lot of stuff that is dreadful taking place right now in the world, and if you care about people and things, that makes it hard to feel okay, you know? And something else that I've been noticing for at least a decade is a growing, a surge of weird behavior in people. And, like, sometimes it's drug-induced, but it's like, if you've been around people that are on drugs for a long time, you develop a tolerance, I guess you could say, to being around them, but you stop being shocked by the drug behavior, the normal drug behavior. And specifically what I'm thinking of is, like, cases that were happening in Florida, like, around a decade ago, where people were presumed to be on some kind of drug and were acting out, and they were like zombies in this particular case, where they would just keep coming at people. And, you know, I think that they were, like, hit with low impact type weapons, and even, like, put them down impact type weapons, and they were still just like, I'm coming anyway. And then later they were determined to have been on some type of drug. And that never seemed right or real or anything. And then later, like, I remember that crocodile drug came over from Russia, and it was the one where you do it and you turn into the Thing from the Fantastic Four. So that sounds terrible, and it doesn't seem like they would show people on it. And again, it didn't look fun. It looked like they were raging around and they were attacking stuff that we can't see. So hallucinating, I guess. But as the years have gone by, I'm seeing more and more people act out in ways that seem beyond the normal like rage that people get for reasons in most cases. Like, either they are genuinely insane, or they've been poisoned somehow, or they have a reason to be angry. Sometimes we take it a little too far, but even in cases like that, it's something that you're like, I mean, it's not really reasonable, but I get it. This is something else that I feel like I've been seeing, and every time I've seen it, my mind goes straight to, they look like they're possessed. You know what I mean, right? Possessed like in the horror movies by a demon. And it's actually not funny, because however those things appear and show themselves, I believed for a long time, and then I have since found lots of other people that agree with me, even up to like people with an expertise in the field. Like, that's what they do, is deal with demonology. And basically, everybody seems to agree that the person who becomes possessed is someone that's vulnerable to that type of attack, because it doesn't happen to everybody. And so, oh my God, there's something really bad and smelling in my trash that's right underneath here. So anyway, I have to stay out of there while I'm doing this until I can take it out. So anyway, yeah, if you, it almost seems like the way a narcissist can pick out a stranger in a crowd to go latch onto and gaslight and, suction funds from, or whatever it is they're doing. They have a sense that, like, they can go do this to that person. And I think that is what happens with human possession. Well, we're talking about humans, aren't we? Okay. So anyway, yeah. I think it takes a certain type of people to be susceptible to that type of attack. For that type of attack to be successful, I think it takes a certain type of person that it's easier for the entity to go do that to. And also, third prong, there's the whole, like, pre-life blueprint where you come in knowing, well, you don't come in knowing, we forget. A whole other subject, but before we are born, before we come in, we plot our lives, and we do that with everybody that we're going to encounter throughout the life. There's a lot of intersectionality to that blueprinting business, and it's not just yours because of all of the offshoots and connections and friend of a friending type stuff. I mean, the connections are like endless, and it just everything just ends up connected to each other anyway. I'm not even going to try to explain what provoked that last sentence. But anyway, I feel like there are entities that can just hone right in on somebody that would be perfect to possess. And the goal, I guess, is they have fun, doing that. Like, all of the things that go along with it, and the behaviors that they get to manifest in the people, and harm and such that happens to the possessed person and the people around them trying to administer to them. Yeah, I think they get hurt too, potentially doing that. So, exercising the possessed person of the entity. So, it seems crazy to even suggest that, seriously, but more and more, it's less extreme as like the swamp zombie people, but still, I mean, it's like, it's still shocking to me. Like, I was watching something on YouTube, and there's I don't know her name, and she's from Africa, and I'll have to, let me make a note. But she was talking to Godfrey, who is a Nigerian American. Maybe she's Nigerian too. But she was relating a story about, I don't want to really go into all of that. Oh man, now I went down the street. I want to do a U-turn. Never mind, I don't want to talk about that. But I will anyway. So this comedian, I'm gonna try to remember. Oops. Link. Her name is right on the tip of my tongue and I can't do it. But she was talking about how she was doing a comedy thing somewhere, and one of the white comedians, American guy, was using the N-word, and she went up and she said, hey, you know, that's really making me feel uncomfortable. Could you please not, use that word? And he got, right up into her face and screamed at her that it was only a word, and then screamed the word right into her face. I don't know why people feel like they need to tell us that we're that thing, as if we don't have a mirror or history to already know that people are going to come at you with that stuff. So it's like, why are you stupid? But I thought, she went up to him and nicely asked him, please don't do this thing that actually makes me feel bad. And he was like, oh, it makes you feel bad. And for some reason, he got super angry. Why? Who called him a name? Who did anything to this guy? Nobody did. It was whatever happened, some black boy stole your lunch in elementary school or bullied you, I don't know what, or a girl, I don't know what happened, but that's no way to behave. I'm sorry. You're a grown man. Just, and why? The whole, I have no context for that. I mean, I have lots of context for it. I just don't understand why, you're attacking someone and you're insanely angry. And I think that she could have said, want a beer, and he may have reacted the same way. So, it makes no logical sense. And it was so over the top angry and, threatening and, over demonstrative. It's no, dude, what is wrong with, you have something in you, poison, there goes the light flaring, making you crazy. So it's things like that people do that make me think, that's, you're not right. And there's a lot of other instances. There's times when people behave that way in groups, which is really, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of horror movies, but I've certainly seen plenty. And my least favorite thing is when there's a whole horde of zombies or vampires that decided that they all want to notice you and chase you right now. No. And I feel like we have a big job as humans right now, and we are doing so many things that are oblivious to what I feel like is important for all of our survival, mentally and physically, and whatever else there is. And I feel like we're not paying attention to things that are really important, as opposed to all of the I'm thinking of a particular YouTube channel, and for years that person has solely been talking about plastic surgery and fads of it and how it can go wrong, and the people doing it who are insanely young. And that is not the only channel that does that. And that's not to say that those things are not important, but it, up against like what we all have against us right now, keeping it to the U.S. right now again, but it's rough, and we have to turn our attention from the way things were, where there was like convenience and ease and people kind of acted right and normal, to where we're just on a completely new landscape. I feel like all of that stuff is, to the degree that it was important, it really isn't at all now, because we have all of this economic stuff that is making it really difficult. And it's not just coincidence or by accident that these things are happening. There's enough, when there's a decision made by the government that is going to remove certain programs that have been there for generations, that help a lot of people who cannot help themselves without that type of assistance. I don't know, beyond just being mean and cruel, I don't know what they're going to achieve, because I feel like if you don't want people begging and being poor, but you want to take away the things that make it at least less so, that those annoying things, then why are you making everybody a poor beggar? I don't understand. You make dumb decisions. And I know that I've heard some things about the goals of this, like the way that there's so much here that we consume, that we ingest, that we eat and drink, that's banned in other countries. And we even know that the stuff is not good for us. But it's gotten to the point where even preparing everything for yourself has been messed with. Like, even the vegetables have been modified. So it's like, you can't always import stuff because, like I said, that economy is a problem. It's steadily increasing while people's incomes are steadily not doing that. So it's like, you cannot keep up. And that, I feel like, too, is deliberate. So I feel like those are the types of things that we have to address. And yes, there's lots of other disturbing stuff, like Epstein file stuff, or like on John Oliver, one of the topics he talked about tonight, which is something that Cody from Some More News has also talked about, but has stopped, really. And they both did it with some kind of humor, and John Oliver's was more disturbing because he just provided more statistical, disturbing realities about these pigs, these boars, these swine. How do you call them? These pork? the wild boars. But it's not funny, though, because pigs are intelligent, and these, as he says in the report, which if you're not paying for Max, you can see the show on YouTube last week tonight. And so he gets, if you have seen his show, you know that he gets pretty in-depth into the material that he's talking about, does the research and gets the background material. And they are not only seriously smart and destructive, just like a pig, like a regular pig that we know of, like a non-feral pig. That's what they are, is feral. They possess easily as much intelligence as the pigs that we have for food and for pets that we're okay with, that we're friendly with. And so the idea of just slaughtering so many of those intelligences, it just feels bad and wrong. But we can't exactly spay and neuter each one of them, because they're aggressive and they can really hurt you, and they get really big. I mean, somebody said, Oliver in the report had some video interspersed in there, and there was I think a hunter talking about how they could be as big as a cow. And I don't know if you've been around a cow, then you know, like, that's not a small, like, it'd be like a Volkswagen Beetle, you know, like, that's, I think, a little bigger, but not much. It's like a seriously big beast. And so, they have hooves, and they have tusks that are sharp, and they have teeth, too, just like regular biting teeth. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the solution is for that. It probably, like he said, it has to be a number of things. But I feel like it needs to be very humane, you know, as much as possible. And definitely, like with cats, spaying and neutering is probably not a bad idea if we can get them and sedate them and, you know, at least stem the flow of, like, creatures creating massive destruction, because they're like, what are the things that come through that eat everything? Is it cicadas? I don't know, but that's what they're like. They go through and everything is picked clean, and you can't have... Also, other wildlife, they were saying, like, endangered species just get gobbled up without discretion, because they don't they don't have our stinking rules. And so, God, I'm talking a lot before I even get started. A little bit more. So last video, yep, switching gears, I was talking about Elijah and how I have connected Elijah from the Bible, how I've connected with that spirit, and I think it is because I feel like it is telling me that I should be doing more than what I'm doing. And by that, well, this is what Elijah always wants. He always wants us to pray more, and I'm like, I don't know if I can bring that. Because I think we all do it, whether we call it that or not. We all do some form of prayer or trying to manifest, or I'm not sure how much of it is speaking to, like, the universe or to God or to spirit or the creator. Like, I'm not sure how many people are out there, like, just doing that, but Elijah encourages that as well, like getting to know spirit. But he also talks about a lot of, like, worshiping spirit. And in the Bible, you may know that there's talk of, like, angels that are like the biggest God groupies ever, and they faint and drop to their knees and weep and sing. And I don't see myself doing that either, but I have a great appreciation for the creator of all things. I mean, can't front on that. That's a big deal. And I think the incursion of all of this sort of possession reflects an opposite energy trying to... there's definitely sidesism, I guess. Like, there are people that want to not care and do things that end up creating more of a problem than the one they're trying to avoid, or the one that's trying to be avoided. And like I said, we allow a lot of things to take our attention away from what's important, because these other things that take our attention away from what is important tend to divide we people from each other. And then we don't want to help each other or look at each other when we have trouble. And there's a whole, like, what do you call it, institutional structure of racism where it's generational, and people don't even think beyond, that's how it is. Like, their racism, whatever they think about... Okay, let's talk black to white racism. If everybody you know is white and everybody thinks negatively and bad things about black people, then I gotta say, it's not true of all of us and is often wrong, and I don't even know it's true of any of us. Sometimes it's so crazy. But it tells me that they're not around black people to know how they really are. And they put, like, everything negative that bothers them weirdly onto like us and blame us for doing these things, and it's like, no, that's some you shit. Like, that's no. But you just know, like, you spend no time with black people. Like, you literally have this whole framework built about us in your mind based on no reality. And that's problem. Like, that's a problem. It's not hard to find us, to get to know us. You probably work with us. So, like, that kind of thing works for the other side, let's put it that way. Like, if we're not able to even stand each other, tolerate each other, how the heck are we going to help each other? Because they are, from a many-pronged perspective, attacking us, the they being the wealthy class and whoever their minders are. Like, if you know the people's names, you should know that they answer to someone whose name you don't know. And I don't like that at all. Like, that, I don't like any secrecy when it comes to people that are, like, making things in our world be the way they are. Like, and a lot of times without our permission or discussion, whether we like it or not, things happen, especially lately. Like, this last term of the current president, like, forget the Constitution and forget laws and the whole structure we got set up. They're sitting in there in that government, and they're not doing the work that they're supposed to be doing in there. Like, they should be out of there. Like, everyone that's not doing their damn job, you need to get out. You're a fraud, and you're dangerous, and you're bad. You're bad. So, it's like, where does that leave us, right? They get to do whatever they want, but boy, if we do anything, they come down on us like that anger again, that insane anger that makes no sense. Like, where is this coming from? Like, that's really coming somewhere out of you, especially when the people that you hate for whatever reason are just there not doing the things that you're blaming them of. Like, they're working, they're obeying laws, obeying social cues, they're with their families, they're home. Like, you can't even be home and be black. Like, people are like, you don't barbecue right. I'm gonna come to your house and complain. I'm gonna bring a cop. It's not only that, though. Thank God, or whatever. My lucky stars, whatever you got. Because what a grim world that would be. I see so many people marching up to strangers, and it's usually like a white person and whoever else of color, and they got notes on how you look, how your life is, how you sound, and it's like, we don't go marching up to you people and interfering with your lives and, marching into your neighborhood in a gang and lighting stuff on fire and frightening you and doing it just for that reason only. Like, nope, there's traditionally, historically, recorded history of people doing that, and it ain't the people of color. So stay home. I don't know what you're so mad at, but what you're doing, that's not good. That's not like God's work. If that's what you're saying, you're doing it with your crosses that you're setting on fire. That also seems to go against, like, the Christian part of your nationalism. It seems like messed up and backwards and like anti of the thing, anti of the Christ. So, not a big fan of that. And all of those things, as they are getting us all these other ways, we're busy messing around and fighting them and arguing stupid shit when we could be like the squirrels that are saving ahead for the winter. Because here's an example of why we would need to do that. Is the Strait of Hormuz open yet? Has it been 2 or 3 weeks and everything's all fixed? And no, that's one conflict blistered into a rash of other ones in the region. We got sucked into it. We shouldn't have. And it's only we because one dingbat decided it was a good idea. Same dingbat also happens to enjoy seeing people in pain, so don't look for help there because he's not going to be inclined to. You know, you have to be in a certain bracket where that person is going to pay you positive attention, and that is if you're a bigger dictator than him, or if you're richer probably. Otherwise, poo on you seems to be the general attitude, or gaslight on you, or both. Oh my gosh, I just realized what I said, no pun intended, but sure, why not? So, I felt like it's kind of chicken of me to not just be like, I know, like, what I should be doing, and I can't, like, I don't feel comfortable asking people to pray, but I know that in some ways we all do, and I would just say that it is good that we're doing it because, like meditation, when we put intentions out into the ether or wherever it goes, it doesn't just fly away to nothing. It makes a connection, I would say, with the other end of that thought. And I think there's conditions for why something may not happen or may not happen immediately, so that it's not recognizable that the thing that you thought wasn't happening actually is. I think that happens a lot. But we do have to pay closer attention to, like, the things that give us life, for one thing, like the planet. Like, I don't understand how there are religious people that are talking about loving the planet and, like, worshiping the planet is like some kind of evil or wrong. First of all, doesn't it say in the Bible that we're supposed to provide husbandry to the planet and protect it? It's our home. It's our source of food. It's our source of income. It's our source of wonder. It's our source of joy in life. And we want to, like, sell it off and burn it and abuse it, and that's also dumb. And data centers, like, are they going to pollute the water? It doesn't matter what's going to pollute the water. Does anyone on this planet think that they're going to escape the effects of dirty water? Like, they can get pure water for their little home, but that's just a drop in the whole ocean that's polluted. Like, you're not going to escape. You know, like, you need water, clean or otherwise. Water has to be, and it's not just for selfish humans to have. The whole world needs it, because it's not a commodity to sell. It needs to be used as needed and then not made a commodity, and so that it becomes inaccessible, because it is free. It exists the way it does for our taking, but not for our taking and selling and making inaccessible or hard to access. You're taking away what is necessary for life or making it really difficult to get. And how is that helpful? Who is that helpful for? Like, I'm into life affirming, you know? Like, I don't... anyway. So, all of that, I guess, is to say that I at least want to be more serious about my approach to how things are changing. Because there's a lot that's important to note that we miss, and the reason why things are important to note is because in some way they help us live our lives. Not noticing stuff, it makes you run into a lot of situations where you're surprised and you're not prepared, and that doesn't usually go too well. So, I don't know. Alright, I'm going to do cards now. So, the first card is from the Mary Magdalene. The Declarations of Mary Magdalene. And the number on here is 17, which adds up to 8. And I think that's appropriate, because the card says, "You are your own church, for your kingdom is within you. So that's okay. So the reason why I linked that to the number 8 by adding up the 1 and the 7 on the number 17 card here is because in tarot it represents strength, and on the card, on the Rider-Waite cards, you will see a woman with enough courage and confidence to put her hands in a lion's mouth and pry it open, and then looks like she's gonna put her head in that mouth, and you have to really like be in possession of yourself and confident enough to know that you will not get your head bitten, your face bitten off, I guess, because you have shown the lion that you are powerful, and so it's submitting to you in that moment. But if you're fearful at all, an animal is going to sniff that out right away, and fear, I think, makes them hungry, to put it succinctly. Okay, so, and as far as you are your own church, I just thought, oh, that's so funny. I pulled a Sunday card and it started talking about church. Church doesn't necessarily have to be the Christian venue that you go to. A church can also just be a descriptor for a place where you go and you get in that state, sort of, where that church is supposed to put you in. I don't know that it always does that. I've seen churches with people with their arms up and they're swaying and the speaking in tongues and being otherwise overtaken by the spirit, or, you know, like the snake people. That's not me. I'm like a more quiet, introverted worshiper. You know, like meditation in a forest glade, like, ooh, cathedral. Yeah. But the other thing, there's just so many expectations of church going in an actual church, and in an informal setting, particularly a nature setting. I think that just brings you closer to like spirit and creation and everything. But that's just me. Like, it's something that developed later in life. That I don't want to like be locked up in a building with some of those people, because they're, as I'm thinking of it, and it's not even necessarily a church that I attended that it's that way, but from the way I see people talking about religion now, I think that they're in there putting on a show for each other, which is different from, like, in the last video that I did, I talked about the white guy that went to the black church with his neighbor and was like, holy crap, this is cool. So, it can be, like, you know, it just has not been my experience. But also, churchgoers are a certain type of people, too. There's what is the word? Etiquette to the church. Like, the guy learned, like, nobody really goes in casual clothes, because if you go to, like, a black church or a Baptist church, more like, even, you're gonna see that a lot more care is put into, like, what the people are wearing when they show up. Like, a lot of us are not gonna go to an award show, you know? And so, if we want to dress up and buy nice clothes, you're gonna have limited places to wear that stuff to. Church is the place. So that's putting on for other people, but it's supposed to reflect your respect for, like, the house of the Lord. Like, you show up in your finest. I don't know if that's right. I think Jesus, or creation, even God, just wants you to show up. I'm not sure it's so concerned with all that appearance ego stuff. Like, it really don't want you to have any of that when you go there. It just wants you to show up with your mind and your heart. But we're people and we have all this other stuff. And again, that's the type of thing that I was talking about that gets in the way of our dealing with our problems. And I'm not saying that necessarily the church thing is going to take care of our problems, because look how it is now. It doesn't take care of like a bunch of stuff in society that we like to say it could, but if it could, I guess it would have, right? Like, it never has done all of the high, mighty things that it could do. So, just speaking for myself, like, I really crave and need to find authenticity, especially when it comes to something like that, where you know there's as many snakes as there are saviors in churches and church lore and religion and all of that stuff. But we need to, as a people, as people with less access to conveniences, as people that have more money, we need, like I have talked about this for a long time, that if we could devalue money, then it would not be, they would not have such a great weapon to use against us. Like, if we could get what we need and bypass their stores and their services, like even paying for power, like just think if you didn't have to pay for the electricity to run your lights and your appliances and your heaters in your house, or, you know, whatever it is. What if you didn't have to pay that power company that, because of so much stuff in this second term of this president, has for some reason, like, I don't even know the specifics anymore, but it's made power bills go up and up and up. I guess the data centers don't help. And we don't need to be fighting for energy with data centers either. Those could be run differently than the way they're run. So many things to address, so many things to fix. So we really, this is why I'm like, we gotta stop messing around with this foolishness that, I know this is gonna piss people off if anybody sees it, but man, the Knicks, like, great for like the feeling and the morale of the state, because everybody's feeling kind of low and washed out and tired, and you don't feel like you ever get rested enough when you sleep, because your life has become a 24-hour news cycle, and it's exhausting. And then there are things happening with our bodies that is not being talked about on the mainstream news. I don't think. I haven't had a television for over a few years now, so I don't really know what they're saying. But I know from my woo-woo stuff that changes are happening, and if science knew to measure it, they would find out that it was true. They're just not. So it just is people like me talking about stuff, and they're just like, you're not accredited. What do you know? I guess. What am I doing on time here? Okay, I need to move along. So anyway, this card talks about finding the church within yourself, or your kingdom is within yourself. And so, like I just said, find the church within yourself, but here's what it says. You are your own church, for your own kingdom is within you. So that implies, if done right, a church is like a TARDIS. It's not just the building where you go in and you sit on the pew and you go through the motions, because there's literally a lot of going through motions in church attending. But this is talking more about, I think, like the feeling, like I was talking about, of being outside and communing with nature, and then feeling like you're in a cathedral, then feeling like you're in a church, or being with people that you love and respect, or you just like feel good being around because it's a supportive scene. That's the congregation, and you can have that anywhere, you know. You could have it on Zoom, you could have it like by imagination, you could actually go to a church, you could bring the people to the outdoor cathedral. You know, every one of us has got to do like the right thing for them. But we have within us as big a universe as there is outside of us. We just are not used to accessing it. And another thing that time meditating in the quiet nature place will do is help you unlock that type of thing within you, like allow you to hear the smallest, lowest volume of instruction speaking to you about, gosh, I don't even know the word, like soulful stuff is what comes to mind, like stuff that has to do with like the deeper part of you. And when it comes to your soul is not just something you carry around with you here like an ID card. It is multi-dimensional. Like your soul is here. It's other places where, oh God, other dimensions of you are dimensional versions of you. I don't even want to try to explain that. I'm going to move to the next card, which is from the Starseed Oracle deck, and it is the Path. All paths lead home. And I have to consult the manual for this, but I will let you take a look. So, interesting that yesterday, when I pulled this card, it was a summer solstice. This does kind of look like a henge maze situation. And is that, like, in the background, is that a waterfall or a glacier? I don't know. I can't even tell. The maze on the ground, I thought it was like stuff growing up out of the ground, but it's actually rock placements, like little, I don't think formations, like I think the column sticking up would be classified as a fountain. The column sticking up, formation, I think those are formations, but if you look, the rocks are set one by one. And there is a, I don't know, I guess priestess in there doing some type of, what is the word? I hate to use ritual. It's gotten such bad connotations lately, but a ceremony of some type. Because you gotta, the lines of the maze are there for a reason. Like I don't think you're supposed to just ignore them and walk straight over them to the column. I think you're supposed to make your way to the column through the maze. And I think what that is like going through like a part of your life where you're like upgrading the whole time. Like that's not the word I want to use, but each time you learn something, you're elevated to a new class, I guess you could say. So let's see what the book has to say, whatever. Let's see what the book has to say. All paths lead home. I should be wearing my new glasses, and I'm not, because I noticed that they are giving me heat vision sometimes, and it's like either a place that I'm looking through the bifocal or the lens, whichever, I don't know, or it's caused by dirt, except I don't think it's dirt because I cleaned them repeatedly and they just don't have any smears. But I'll be looking at something and I'll turn my head a certain way and the picture I'm looking at will get all wavy, like there's a heat thing happening, like a heat devil. And that's not. There's no asphalt, there's no road, there's no outside, as you can see. I'm in my kitchen. So yeah, I don't know what that's about, and it kind of scares me. Because what's that doing to my eyes? And why do I keep getting prescriptions from this place that give me headaches and weird vision? Like, that's not right. I got them there for over a decade, and this has never happened. Past 2 years, I've gotten weird headache glasses. I don't like it. Sorry, got sidetracked. Okay, so all paths lead home, and the subtitles are inner authority, intuition, turn your gaze within, into your kingdom, your inner church. It is normal to look to the external world for answers and guidance. What's revolutionary is turning your gaze inward. You're being called to source your guidance from within, to study the terrain of your inner landscape, to develop a reliable relationship with your soul. The more time you spend connecting with your soul, the deeper the connection will become. The challenge for empaths is staying connected without cutting off from the world. The best way to do this is to develop a daily practice that helps you to keep checking in, to draw on the wisdom within and let that be the authority in your life. If this card appears, you may be called to develop or switch your spiritual practice. What was I just talking about? To get in the habit of turning your gaze within, getting centered for the day before consuming anything from the outside world, to start from a feeling of oneness. To start from a feeling of at-homeness, and throughout each day to find simple ways to keep coming home. This doesn't mean switching off from the realities of today's world. We need as many conscious people as possible living with their eyes wide open. Rather, it's a call to start your day from a place of connectedness, grace, and devotion, so when you go out into the world and when you let the world in, you do it from an unshakable state of being, a state where you draw your strength, authority, and guidance from a place deep, deep within. So that's like building an unshakable foundation within. I think that's a fantastic idea. Okay, so the other cards, remember I said I pulled some, but I wanted 2 more and I ended up with 3 because I got a sticky guy. Okay, so the next card is Baby Steps. Here's what it looks like. Always, always with the portals. So, it didn't look like this, but for some reason, it's making me think of Iron Fist, the one from Netflix, where the Iron Fist guy, I forget his character's name, but the blonde young man comes back from Kunyum, something like that. Which is, I love it because it sounds so much like the place where the scenes are from, which is Kunram, I think. I don't know, they're so similar, I can't believe they're not talking about the same place. And it kind of is because the scenes was a place of, like, mystics and study and, this, in the Iron Fist series, it was a place where there were monks that sat around meditating and doing spiritual study, but they were kung fu monks. I don't make the rules. It was in the show. But it reminds me of when, I think Danny was his name in the show. Danny walks back up to Kunyun, and he'd been there for like a long time, and then he left because he wanted to go home. And when he left, he was a little boy, and then so he came back as an adult. His father that owned his company was gone. Nobody knew him. Why am I telling you the plot of that show? But anyway, stuff happens, and he ends up coming back. He has to come back to Kunyun, and it looks different because it only opens sometimes, and it's like there has to be, like, I guess a spiritual reason. And it had closed up, but he got in, and like the place had been like ransacked as if violence had happened, and I think he actually found, like, why am I talking about the plot of that show so much? It just looked like that. I'm gonna stop talking about Iron Fist. But he did arrive at the sort of portal, the doorway, and found it, like, closed up. And, I don't know why that's important that I'm telling you. This is, yeah, God, this is like a grand ornate portal, but you can see up here, it's just a false front. It's not a whole building. Like, it's not attached to a building. It is free floating on this weird floating rock in space. I don't know. So, baby steps. Let's consult the manual and see what that has to say about Cloud World. Okay, so the subtitles on baby steps are: action, follow your intuition before it makes sense. Huh. You're being called to take grounded action in response to your soul's calling. Again, like, I just decided, like, I'm not gonna be messing around anymore. I'm gonna start, like, trying to do, like, Isaiah and others actually have indicated that we need to be doing, and, like, switch gears on my spiritual path. I love the way it keeps coming up. It makes me feel like I made the right decision. Okay, oh my gosh. Alright, let me put on the heat vision glasses. This is ridiculous. It was a really warm one today. Oh my god. Yeah, that's like getting used to a whole different eyesight. Okay, you're being called to take grounded action in response to your soul's calling, to start where you are and begin building in a consistent way. So many people stop themselves from living a soul-led life because they're waiting to know the destination before taking the first step. But intuition doesn't work like that. Our soul is always calling us, every moment of every day. The way to find yourself living in harmony with the cosmos is to listen to your soul's baby calls and whispers each and every day. I mentioned those about being in meditation in the forest cathedral when there's not a bunch of outer noise and, like, neon light type glitz and whatever to just frag up what you're trying to hear. And when that's all gone, then you can hear stuff that is far more important and valuable, actually, because you don't have all of that, noise. Alright, the way to find yourself living in harmony with the cosmos is to listen to your soul's baby calls and whispers each and every day, and to take grounded action in the direction of those calls and whispers. You're being encouraged to start small, bite-sized, to put one foot in front of the other, to do one thing every day, to break things down into achievable tasks. Time on Earth goes slower than on other planets. That's crazy because it's speeding up. This may cause frustration for starseeds, who can expect a faster pace of manifestation and thus give up before the seeds begin to sprout. If you resonate with that, it's time to opt for consistency over urgency. Time to take baby steps in the direction of your calling. To remember that you don't need to have it all figured out or know exactly where the path is leading you. You don't have to know every single step along the way before you set out on your great journey. You just need to take the next step. That is, I think, amazing advice. And the thing about slowing down and taking your time, it doesn't mean that you're going to miss anything. It actually, It means that if you take the time to pay attention to what you're doing, time goes by a lot faster than you realize. Like, if you've ever done knitting or crocheting, then you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll sit down and you'll look up, and the next thing you know, 2 hours have gone by, and you're like, wow, how did that happen? Oh, look, a whole hat. Okay, next card is Forge, Don't Follow. Yeah, this is another one of those confusing images with this deck, but it looks as if you got two realities happening here, one literally on top of the other. Although if you put a globe in the middle of this, like an Earth, like a planet, this could be topside, and then this could still be upright, but it would be on the bottom of the planet. There, I don't know what that was good for, but there you have it. So the thing about this, that it's like, it looks like there's outer space down here, and then up here, like, you know, more like Earth planet looking-ish. Not like any place I've ever seen, but I think there are places that resemble this on Earth. And I don't even know if that's important. Like, I think both of these are metaphorical. But they may represent discovered or untraveled spaces. And in that case, Forge, Don't Follow makes sense, because at least on the upper part, there is no paved roads. There's no, like, organized passage. There's no dock. There's no space stations. There's no, I don't know, what else do you have out there? Dyson spheres. There's no space architecture. You have to go there and create that. You have to be the first one through. So let's see what the book says about Forge, Don't Follow. I wish it was just alphabetic. It'd be a lot easier to find it. I mean, it's alphabetic in the table of contents, but not in the book. I mean, it would just make sense to go there, you know? But I forgot what page I'm looking for. Shoot. Okay, 68. Help me remember, 68. I'm close. 72. 66. 70. 68. Got it. Okay, so the subtitles on Forge, Don't Follow. Pave a new path. Be the leader you wish you had. If you wait until the path is perfectly paved, you won't be forging your own path, and you'll likely not even take the first step. Don't let a small detail like being unable to find someone to show you the way be the reason you don't step forward and lead. Let it be the reason that you do. The most courageous and needed leaders are the ones who don't wait for permission, or until the morning they wake up feeling ready. They take a deep breath, put one foot in front of the other, and figure it out as they go. They don't wait for someone to lead them, they lead themselves. This is a card for leaders. You're here to pave a path that hasn't been walked before, to go first and lead the way for others who are calling you in. If you feel misrepresented in the media, then step forward for all of those who feel misrepresented. If no one's speaking out on the topics you feel passionate about, share your unique voice. There's no one on earth who comes close to possessing your unique combination of skills, gifts, and life experience. Don't look to those who have come before you to work out your path. Leaders must forge their own. Do it for your daughter, do it for your younger you. Do it for the leaders who will follow. When you go first, you make it easier for others to follow your lead. You make it easier for others to follow your lead. Forge, don't follow. Okay, well, that's cool. I don't really have anything to add to that, so I'm just going to move on. Next card is Double Mission. So, there's Double Mission. Wait, is that a dude? Is that a beard? It's hard to tell what I'm looking at there because I thought I was seeing eyeshadow. Speaking of shadows, there are a lot, so it's just hard to tell. If maybe it's meant to be androgynous, I don't know. But anyway, that person that's there seems to be asleep or have their eyes closed at the very least. And, I mean, unless that's some kind of arty poster behind them, they are like somehow in space with their head, like, not close, because that's not how distance works, but still, when it comes to being a person near a planet, that's pretty near. That's pretty near. But what I thought about this picture and the Double Mission was that they are either asleep or in a trance state of some type, and they could be on the astral plane, which could be what is represented in a way behind them, like as analogous, maybe to analogous, I should say, to the astral plane, whichever part of that they are on, and yet their physical body is here, like in the foreground, like I'm here actually, but I'm also in the other place. That's the impression I'm getting from this card, the Double Mission. So you're working in two worlds at once. All right, let's see what the book has to say. Double Mission, and the subtitles are Lightworker, Starseed. Serve the world by being you. Okay, that sounds like my perfect job description. Lightworker, Starseeds are mission and purpose oriented. Many have the feeling that time is running out and there's something they came here to do, create, or contribute. You don't have to rush, though. Remember what I said about intense focus on your work makes the time fly by. So if you're slowing down and concentrating, are you really? I don't think so. I mean, you may be concentrating, but I don't think you're slowing down. They're here, starseeds, here to grow as souls individually, individual mission, and also contribute to the planet on some action-oriented way, collective mission. Their collective mission is often answered through a career calling or by devoting their life to something bigger. Until they remember their collective mission, it can feel as if something's missing or that they're forgetting something important. It's common for lightworkers, starseeds, to feel that they're different, and they may carry soul memories of being visible or sharing their voice. As such, they may protect themselves by dimming their light in order to fit in, or by spending time in some sort of closet, such as a spiritual closet. Are you really well, never mind. I'm not even gonna... I don't want to start a whole new branch of discussion. If you pull this card and you're being called to remember your collective mission and step into it even more fully, you're being reminded... Oh, that was a period. If you pull this card, you're being called to remember your collective mission and step into it even more fully. You're being reminded that your role as a light worker is to light up the world with your presence. This doesn't have to be a great big thing or a decision you need to make. You also don't need to have a great big plan. If you resonate with being a light worker, all you need to do is work out what lights you up, your passions and joys, and keep doing that. When you trust and follow the simple path of things that light you up, and then lose yourself in the doing, you'll light up the world without even trying. That sounds very much like my philosophy that I even more or less have voiced in this reading, so I love it when things work out that way. That's it. Thank you and good night.